Okay, just picture this for a second. You're in a battle so fierce, so intense, that you literally break 9 swords. Not 1, not 2, 9. That incredible number? That's exactly where our story kicks off today. And that brings us to this prayer. This wasn't just any prayer. It came from the Prophet Muhammad himself. It was a prayer that was going to forge a title, a name, for a man who would completely change the game in military history forever. So, who are we talking about? None other than Khalid ibn al Waleed. And today, we're diving deep into his story. We're talking about a military commander whose life is just this incredible mix of strategy, faith, and leadership. Honestly, it's one of the most remarkable stories you'll ever hear. So, how did he get that epic title, the Sword of Allah? Well, to get that, we've got to go back to his very first battle on the side of the Muslims. It was the Battle of Mutah. And let me tell you, the odds, they were, to put it mildly, just completely stacked against him. All right, so let's set the scene. On one side, you've got the brand new Muslim army. They're still kind of finding their feet, And on the other side, the powerhouse, the disciplined legions of the Eastern Roman Empire, the Byzantines. These guys were the military superpower of their time. The difference in scale is just wow. Let's actually look at the numbers because they're pretty mind-blowing. So the Muslim force, it's just 3,000 soldiers. 3,000 guys, that sounds like a decent amount, right? Well, yeah, until you see what they were staring down. 200,000 Roman soldiers. Do the math. This should have been a complete wipeout, an absolute annihilation. And things started bad. The first 3 Muslim commanders were killed. But then, one man stepped up, and he changed everything. And for what he did that day, Khalid ibn al Waleed earned his legendary title, Sayf Allah al-Maslul, the drawn sword of Allah. So that really brings up the big question, right? What was it about this guy? What made him such a legendary tactician? How did he keep solving these impossible problems? But here's the twist in the story. Before he was Islam's greatest general, Khalid was actually one of its toughest opponents. Yeah, you heard that right. He was this brilliant commander for the Quraysh tribe in Mecca, the Prophet's own tribe, and his first major battles were fighting against the Muslims. So what could possibly flip the script on a guy like that? Well, it wasn't just one thing. It was more of a slow burn, a realization. But the real turning point, it came when he found out that the Prophet Muhammad had personally asked about him. He'd said he wished a man of Khalid's talent would join their cause. And that personal touch, that respect, it really got to Khalid. It was enough to clear his doubts and lead him to Islam. You see, Khalid's true genius wasn't just about being a good fighter. No, it was his brain. His ability to stare down a totally impossible situation and just invent a way to win. He was the absolute master of thinking outside the box. Okay, so let's go back to that impossible battle, Mutah. A head-on fight was suicide, and Khalid knew it. So what does he do? He goes for psychological warfare. Overnight, he completely shuffles his army. He swaps the guys on the left and right flanks, brings the soldiers from the back to the front. The next morning, the Romans see all new faces. Then he sends a few horsemen way out in the back to kick up a massive dust cloud. So now the Romans think, oh no, not only is their army fresh, but look at all those reinforcements arriving. They panicked. And that moment of hesitation, that was everything. It was all Khalid needed to pull off this brilliant strategic withdrawal, saving almost his entire army. They lost only 12 men. Incredible. And his creativity, man, it could be brutally effective. Take the siege against the Persians at Al-Anbar. They're stuck, facing a huge trench and these expert archers. So what's Khalid's solution? First, he tells his own archers, forget the body shots, aim for the eyes. Just the eyes. It worked so well that the battle is literally known as that of the eyes. Then there's the trench. How do you cross it? He takes the army's weakest camels, has them slaughtered, and just fills the trench with their bodies. It's gruesome, for sure, but it worked. He made a bridge out of camels to get his army across. But it wasn't always about outsmarting enemy generals on the battlefield. Khalid's skills were tested in other ways too. He was sent on missions that were less about tactics and more about, well, testing his faith. Missions that took him into the realm of the unseen. So there's this one story where he's sent to destroy a pagan shrine to the idol Al-Uzza. So he goes, he chops down the sacred trees, smashes the building, and comes back like mission accomplished. But the prophet looks at him and says something really strange. Go back, you haven't done anything. Khalid must have been so confused, but he goes back. And this time, from the ruins, this wild, screaming woman appears. And she's said to be the actual demon of the idol. Khalid deals with her, and only then, when he returns, does the prophet say, yes, that was Aluza. It shows that the mission wasn't just about knocking down a building, it was about getting to the spiritual heart of the matter. But of all his battles, all his tests, maybe the biggest one of all was his masterpiece, the Battle of Yarmouk. And this one wasn't just about winning on the battlefield. It was an incredible test of his character, his loyalty, and his humility. So, we're at the Battle of Yarmouk. The stakes could not be higher. We're talking about the entire fate of Syria hanging in the balance. And, surprise, surprise, Khalid is once again massively outnumbered. He's facing this huge Roman army that is dead set on crushing this new Muslim state for good. Okay, get this. It's the second day of this gigantic 6-day battle. A messenger shows up with a letter. And it's just bombshell after bombshell. First, the caliph, their leader, Abu Bakr, is dead. Second piece of news, the new caliph has fired Khalid. Fired. In the middle of the most important fight of his entire life. So what does he do? Does he complain? Does he walk away? No. He puts the letter in his pocket, says nothing to anyone, and proceeds to lead the army to one of the most decisive victories in history over the next 4 days. And only when it's all over, when the enemy is defeated, does he calmly reveal the news and hand over command. The discipline is just unbelievable. So you have to be asking, why? Why would the new caliph do that? Well, the new caliph, Umar, was worried. He saw that the soldiers, the people, were starting to build up this cult of personality around Khalid. They were starting to think that victory came from Khalid the man, not from God. So the dismissal was actually a test. It was a test for the army and a test for Khalid, to bring their focus back to their faith. And Khalid, he passed with flying colors. So after this incredible life, just packed with these glorious, seemingly impossible victories on the battlefield, the end for Khalid ibn al Waleed came, well, it came in a way that nobody, especially not him, ever would have guessed. I mean, just let this sink in for a minute. The man fought in over 100 battles and was never, ever defeated. His body was basically a map of scars from every weapon you can imagine. Swords, spears, arrows. He spent his entire life right in the thick of it, in the heart of the storm, and yet that's not where he died. On his deathbed, he was actually sad about it. He lamented it. His final words, they really show the heart of a warrior who always wanted to die a martyr on the battlefield, but was fated to die peacefully at home. It's such a raw, powerful, and totally human moment for this legendary figure. But you know, despite his own personal sorrow about how he died, his professional legacy, it's absolutely immortal. His tactics, the way he used deception, lightning-fast troop movements, that psychological edge, they're timeless. In fact, to this day, his campaigns are still required reading at top military academies all over the world, from West Point here in the US to Sandhurst in the UK. And that really brings us to the final thought, doesn't it? Khalid's whole life makes you ask the question, what really makes someone a legend? Is it just the wins, the undefeated record and the brilliant tactics? Or is it something more? Is it about the character you show, the humility, the grace? Especially when you're dismissed at the peak of your power, or when you're facing an end you never ever wanted. It's something to think about.